Hello, my name is Regina. I have studied political science and philosophy, so I'm not a coder. I'm more coming from the conscious aspect, so try to bring consciousness into problems in the international arena. I will start my PhD on the moral and legal responsibility of social media platforms for international crimes this fall, and I have been working for the ICT for Peace Foundation for the last 3 years. So we have been doing research on how technological models for AI and other emerging technologies impact individuals and society. And our focus is different from the one here at the GGE on law in 2 ways. So first, we're not only focusing on the security implications of new technologies on society and the individual human during war, but also during peacetime. So that's what we call peacetime threats. And then second, the challenges arising from emerging technologies. They are international, but they are also inherently local and citizen-based. So we opt for policies that try to bring the individual human back into the epicenter of security considerations instead of only focusing on the traditional state sovereignty. So what are peacetime threats? For us, peacetime threats are effects that emerging technologies, not only artificial intelligence, but also others have on the human and on society that are subtler than autonomous weapon systems, that are potentially permanent and that are therefore very transformative. And those effects raise questions about self-understanding of the human being, about the role and the makeup of social regulation, and about perception that society has on the individual human. So let me just give you some brief examples. For example, last year Conscious Coder has spoken about deepfakes, which is very important because we live in a world where we all know information can be increasingly faked, manipulated to tailor, manipulated and tailored to enhance often false beliefs of individuals and groups. So we start to live in a landscape where a common reference point for knowledge can be lost, which makes truth something even more subjective and more fluid, and could be that we have to ask whether or not we have to have a human right to true information, for example. So that's a thought that we discuss, that we work on, for example, in our work with ICT for Peace. Or we also live in a world where the human seems to be fading a little bit into irrelevance behind the political and economic possibilities of the data that it's producing. So data can be used for political and economic interests. It can also be leveraged for humanitarian purposes. For example, when a country attracts a tech company that invests in AI by offering it its citizens' health data for free, or when a great power trains its AI algorithms in a developing country just to have a more diversified data set, or when refugees only receive humanitarian aid when they give away their biometric data and their irises can be. So data geopolitics can lead to the exploitation of vulnerable communities, and that could lead to more global inequality, something that the international community definitely wants to reduce. And then just one other thought, what about life enhancement technologies and a priori more physical way of transforming the human in the future? We might have possibilities to modify and enhance our physical body, our cognitive functions, not only by biological means, but also by technological means. We might have tiny nanobots swimming in our blood system, for example, which shows that the Internet of Things could move from augmenting the human being to invading the human body, which raises more questions about hacking and about new methods to secure physical integrity of human beings. So I will leave it at that with those ideas about broader perspective of risks of emerging technologies. So basically, to sum up, we believe that we have to promote digital human security during conflict and during peacetime on different levels of society and government. And I will maybe talk more about those ideas in the discussion. Thank you very much for your attention. It's very interesting or important to observe what's going on a national level, there exists a little bit the risk that tech companies are taking on a particular role of governance or of governing. As many of us know, major tech companies are setting up ethical principles like privacy, or, data security, or transparency. And those are safeguards of basic rights that are classically enshrined in national constitutions. So classically, when a development or a law risked to violate such a basic right, it would have to pass through Parliament. But now, with regards to privacy risks or risk to physical integrity through those new emerging technologies, it's more the tech companies are a step ahead of governments. And also, and that relates to what Dominique has said, their ethical guidelines are necessarily inspired by competitive thinking and are developed under time pressure of global business. So we have to ask ourselves also whether or not this is ethical washing or real added value. So ethics for the sake of ethics, or ethics for the means to an end. So I believe we need an increased dialogue between the tech sector and national governments in order for national governments to catch up with the technological state of the art, so they can maybe at some point answer those new political and social needs. Maybe we need constant quality technology interfaces through fixed state departments for technology, because I believe national governments have to understand that the digital world, let's say, is an infrastructure like any other, and maybe the most important infrastructure will be maybe the most important infrastructure in the future. So basically, I think you said it's important. You cannot, no developer, no researcher can decide on an ethical question by himself. Ethical questions are very difficult to answer, but I believe we have to raise awareness about the new technological landscape that we live in, particularly by sensitizing technological research, because that's what education is there for. It gives us a toolkit on how to handle the real world once we leave university. And now that the world is changing, and now that technological tools, or many technological tools, pop up that can be used for malicious purposes, we need a toolkit on just to ask ourselves the questions that we need to ask ourselves once we are in the day-to-day work after we graduate. So, and I believe sensitization mustn't be fixed ethical principles. It could be fixed ethical principles not to develop this or only to follow those ethical rules, but just to sensitize it, to make sure that we automatically ask ourselves questions about social implications of our actions. I think that's important. And maybe, I believe personally, it's maybe also important to include sensitization on individual human responsibility and ethics even at an earlier age, maybe in primary school, because we live in a world where technological tools are not only tools anymore, they start to create our environments without our input. And so I believe it's important that at a very early stage we start to think about how important it is to have individual human control and responsibility about our actions.